Welcome back to another episode of The Conscious Artist, a safe space for conversations around mental health awareness for musicians, artists, and all human beings. I am your host, Pallavi Mahidara. I'm a concert pianist and teacher, and I am absolutely thrilled that you are joining us today. My hope for this show is that it will give all of us a sense of solidarity and knowledge that we are not alone, and together, through these conversations, we can create more awareness and change for a healthier future. Today's guest is an American singer-songwriter who is currently touring internationally and living between Hong Kong and London. She runs an agency based in Asia for artists, and as an artist herself, she decided to start her own company after she realized how many wonderful and talented artists were being taken advantage of because they were unaware of the business side of the music industry. A big advocate of mental health and mental health awareness, she is here today to speak with us about something that I think almost every single person on this planet has experienced at some point or another. Abuse is something that I think there are so many different forms that it can come in. And sometimes we're completely unaware of being on the receiving end of it and sometimes even being the perpetrator. So I thank our guest for her courage and her vulnerability in being here today, because I know many of you listening will be able to relate and hopefully can find solace in knowing that you are not alone. Please join me in welcoming my guest, talented singer Tess Collins. Tess, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
It is my pleasure, truly. Firstly, I just want to say before we start talking about the heavy stuff that I was so happy to hear you live in Hong Kong because your voice is so gorgeous and I was just blown away. So I'm just so excited that I got to hear you live.
You're so kind. You're going to have to come to another show now.
Oh, I will.
And come on stage and actually play with me.
We'll come to Madrid and we'll do something.
Okay, done. That's for the next episode. Live from Madrid.
No, truly, I loved chatting with you in Hong Kong, not only hearing your gorgeous voice, but also actually talking with you because I feel like we bonded very quickly over some mutual topics.
Yes.
The music industry is not always kind or easy, and there's always a lot to learn and grow from through our experiences in it. So if you feel comfortable, I was wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit of your own story with us.
Yes, of course. So the first time that I experienced abuse would have probably been when I was about 22, and it was actually my first time in Hong Kong, my first time out of the US touring, and my band leader was, well, now I can look back and see all the signs, an extreme narcissist, but also really abusive. And I think so many people, when they think of abuse, they think of physical abuse, bruises, and it's just not the case. And actually, it's more detrimental to our health when we experience mental and emotional abuse, because that's when it causes a spiraling and we go inward through gaslighting and manipulation, right?
Right.
So the first time I experienced it, I didn't know it was happening. I didn't even see the signs. I just thought, okay, well, this is a hard industry and I need to buck up and get on with it. And I'm not a quitter and I'm just going to push through. Little did I realize that my body obviously handled it differently. And luckily, I turned to exercise rather than drinking or being destructive to handle it. But I mean, it was devastating. I definitely went into a depression and just became inward and was not my bubbly, outgoing self that you've seen on stage, right? I just became a shell of myself. And it was to the point that I actually wanted to quit music. So I flew out to Hong Kong and it ended up being a 5-month tour. And I just thought, okay, well, this guy is, 30 years older than me. He must know more of what he's talking about. And I just need to trust him. Just as I had trusted professors before that were not abusive and just really supportive and just really nurturing and compassionate and helped us grow, right? So I assumed this would be a similar situation. This is someone who's going to take me under his wing and just show me the ropes. And it couldn't be further from the truth. Not only did he gaslight me into, doubting myself and doubting my talent by saying, oh, people only come to see you because you're a pretty face. Like, they don't actually think you're good. And if you hear that every day, you start being like, oh my God, okay. And he would even say things, I'd be on stage and he would literally be muttering behind me, like, do you think you could sing in tune? Like, come on. And it was just, I mean, it was complete insanity. And he was married to the piano player. So she then, and I think oftentimes people, they don't realize that they are, taking part in abusing someone when you are being manipulative and just mean. And it would be to the point that we would start a song and she would just stop playing. He would make the band stop playing halfway through the song. Like, how completely insane is this?
Like on stage in a concert?
On stage in a concert and be like, let's see if she can stay in tune. So I then developed this complex of being like, oh my God, can I not sing in tune? Am I always flat? I mean, it was crazy. And do you think I'm, a 21, 22-year-old, have just left the US music school where I was obviously praised for my talent and had the confidence to be like, okay, I'm going to go out and give music a whirl and do it full time and try to be an artist. When it was, 2009, you think the crash and just the economy was awful. So to already have made the decision that I was going to really go for it and give 110%, and then I encounter this situation, it was just devastating. I was really lucky that about 4 months in the tour, I only had 2 months left. I mean, someone was clearly looking out for me. And I met some other singers and other agents who just started to help build my confidence and were like, what are you doing? You sound amazing. Are you kidding? And you don't believe people because you've been told for so long that you're awful, or, oh my gosh, you didn't learn this in music school? You don't know this song? Are you dumb? And it's like, oh my gosh, there's 1,000 songs I know and you pick the one song I don't know, but I'm going to go learn it. Right. And it was just, I'll be honest with you. I ended up, meeting an agent who was just really lovely at the time. And she really helped me and was like, no, we got to get you back here. And I was like, yeah, sure. And I flew back to the US and I hadn't really told anyone about what had gone on. I had tried, but the response was the music industry is hard. And, you have to be tough enough to push through. And if you're not tough enough, then it's going to eat you up type of thing. And then the other response was, well, when I wanted to quit and I couldn't, you don't have the vocabulary or know how to communicate what's actually going on because you don't understand it yourself. You're just like, why is someone so mean to me? Why would someone treat me like this?
Like, what did I do? What have I done?
Exactly. And then you go inward being like, well, it must be me. I must not be talented. I must, maybe it is like looks. The industry is based on looks sometimes. So this must be what it is. And even confiding in family, like the few times that I tried. And again, I don't blame them. And I think they probably didn't have the tools to recognize it or the tools to even know how to help me or lead me. But it was like, well, we're not quitters. You're not going to quit this tour. Like, come on, what you start, you finish. That's what we do. So I then obviously stayed in a situation that was just detrimental to my health. And I'll tell you, like, luckily, again, I turned to exercising. But I remember when I first came back to the US, my mom walked into the kitchen and she didn't recognize me. Like, she didn't realize it was me because I had lost so much weight. And people then praise you. Oh my God, you look great, all this stuff. And it's like, I am so depressed. I am not myself. I'm sad. But, as a performer, there's no business like show business. What are we taught? We're taught to put on a smiling face and to act like everything's okay. And the show must go on. And I think I started to do that in my life when actually I was dying inside, right? So I had a huge reunion show back in the US and booked my band and, told all my friends, yeah, it's my reunion show. Like, everyone come, everyone's getting, like, the band's getting back together type of thing. But my plan was that I was going to be done with music. I was done. That was it. I was not tough enough. I was too sensitive for the music industry and it wasn't for me. So I went on stage and I'll tell you, when you go to do something and you think it's the last time, you live in the moment. You are truly present and you are there. And I was there and I was present. And I remember looking out at the audience and people were just so into it and they just were focused and enjoying the music. Like, I was touching people, right?
Yeah.
And a wave washed over me of, oh my God, this is what I'm supposed to do. What am I doing? This is how music should be. This is what music is. It's not being on stage and being told you're, a piece of shit or you're bad or you're awful. Like, it is being appreciated and it's connecting with the audience. And I'll tell you, and I'm sure my show suffered those years because I couldn't connect, because I was so insecure then that I was going to mess up or that I wasn't a good singer or a good performer or a good entertainer. And that, well, I had to rely on my look. So if I didn't look good that day, then, oh, no one's going to come and hear you sing. That's insane.
That's insane.
Right? But it was like this feeling came over me, and I can't do anything else. There's nothing else I can do. And it was kind of like, okay, let's like, you kind of make a deal with yourself. I'll give myself 6 more months.
Right.
Being like, and if nothing happens in 6 months, then, we'll see. And luckily I had some amazing musical experiences that summer with incredible bandmates and friends that just, again, went back to how it was in college, which were just really nurturing and compassionate and supportive. And that is what the music industry should be. And that is what music should be, right? Connecting us all together.
Yeah.
So that was my first incident with abuse. And I should say my first, dance with abuse. And then you think, oh, you learn from it. But sadly, I think that a lot of us, because I never called it abuse, I never talked to anybody about it. I didn't even talk to a therapist at that time. It was kind of like, oh, it's something that happened, but I didn't even label it as abuse, right? Until much later in life. And then you get excited and life goes on and you kind of try to move on and not let it affect you. And I gained my confidence back. I went back on tour. I went on tour to Beijing, Shanghai, and was celebrated, was on the side of ATMs. And it just felt like I was back in control again. So why would I need to worry and focus on, just an awful experience? I could kind of put it in a box and not think about it or deal with it.
Right. You don't want to live in the past. You want to move on. Right?
Exactly. And I think we're often taught culturally, I think it is changing the more that people are talking about their feelings and being vulnerable. But I think we are taught to sometimes not bring up uncomfortable things. It's uncomfortable for other people.
Yeah.
So it's easier to sweep it under the rug, right? And you think even for family and friends, you don't want them to feel bad for you. And you don't want them to be like, oh my God, I wish I would have known. And it's like, yeah, you didn't. And that's okay. Let's move on. Let's not talk about it. It's easier to do that, right?
Or I tried to tell you, but I understand you weren't able to hear it.
Yeah. Or dismissive, or again, just unaware of the signs of that. This is not normal. This is not okay. Right. So I then, pattern here. I entered into a marriage with someone who was abusive. And I think, again, the misconception with abuse is that, oh, are you being abused all the time? Well, no, that is not abuse. Abuse happens usually, like, you're going to have really great days with the person. And then you're going to have days where you're like, oh my God, what is going on? Like, this isn't even the person that I'm with, or who am I? What is wrong with me? Right. And I, was in a relationship, a really toxic relationship, that I, again, didn't see narcissistic behavior that was going on, and didn't see the gaslighting and manipulation and emotional and mental abuse until it had really taken a toll on my body, on my voice, and on me mentally. And now looking back, I see all the signs. And even, when you discuss it, like, this is the first time I'm discussing it publicly, because I think there's such a stigma, and I don't want to be known as a victim. I don't want to be known as, oh yeah, I was abused. No, that's not my narrative. That's not my story. It is something that happened, and it's something that has affected me and obviously shaped who I am and even how I'm communicating through music. But that's not me, right? And I don't want to be attached to that. But at the same time, I now see friends or people that I meet and they're in situations, and I can see red flags from a mile away. And I'm like, you do realize he's being abusive. You do realize that's control behavior, and that's unacceptable. That's not okay. Abusers oftentimes are so good at hiding the abuse, especially around your family or friends, and just seemingly they're perfect. They're compassionate and they're kind. So if there is an issue, I think friends and family could often be like, oh, well, you're the one who's more erratic. You're emotional. You're this. Like, you get put with the blame, right? And again, it's not intentional, but you then kind of go into your shell and you just try to keep your head down and walk on eggshells and not cause any issues. So gaslighting, which then again took a big toll on me mentally. And then, of course, it's going to affect my career. We're artists, so we care what people think. And we're also deeply empathetic, so we feel everything. And for only so long can you push it down and be like, oh, no, it's not a big deal. It's nothing, until it starts affecting you vocally, emotionally, mentally, physically. And obviously that is what happened until a couple of years ago, when I was strong enough after a year and a bit of therapy to recognize what was going on and to put my foot down and be like, this is where the story ends. This is enough. And just start really loving myself. And that's when I really tapped into the rising phoenix that I am at this point.
Oh my goodness, Tess. First of all, thank you so much for sharing this with us. Thank you for trusting me and trusting this space, especially since you said this is the first time you're sharing it publicly. I really, truly am so grateful for your trust. So thank you for that.
No, thank you for creating a safe space. That's part of you, right?
Thank you. I mean, it's really the least that I can do because I know that your story is not unique, and that's so painful to say, but it's not. And I've mentioned to you, and I know that you listened as well to a bit of it, but the first episode in this season, in season 3, was in fact with another singer who experienced sexual abuse and proceeded to lose her singing voice over the next 10 years. Like, we don't realize how much abuse can affect not only our minds, but also our bodies. Like, we don't realize that. And I'm sort of going to backtrack to your first story about the band leader, because this is something that I haven't yet done an episode on abusive teachers. It's not for lack of desire to speak about it. I know it's such an important and very dangerous topic,
Yes, because you trust these people.
Right.
These people are supposed to be looking out for you, right?
Right.
They're older. They're in a position, a father or mother role,
Right.
where you're vulnerable, and people like that need to show up. And if they're not, or they're taking advantage of the fact that you're inexperienced or young, that's just so wrong.
It's so incredibly wrong. And I can't tell you how many stories I have heard from colleagues and friends and close friends and best friends that have experienced emotional and sometimes even worse kinds of abuse from their teachers or from colleagues. I mean, I heard you sing live. You were one of the most in tune singers I've ever heard. I'm just going to say that right now.
Oh gosh, great girl. Thank you. That does mean something to me.
I seriously, I'm not just saying this. And like, as a pianist with a voice that really doesn't stay very much in tune, I really appreciate when singers can sing in tune. And like, God, it was just like, for so many reasons, I loved hearing you sing live. But anyway, I digress. I will keep complimenting you through this. But the point I wanted to make was, I completely understand how you feel, because we're already aware of our insecurities, most of us. We're already aware of the things that we worry about on a daily basis as artists or as people. And then for someone who should be looking out for us, someone who should be taking care of our emotional well-being, for them to sit and point out and tell us, do you think you can sing in tune today?
Yeah.
Like, I
Oh,
can't even
God.
imagine how you felt on stage. And I'm so sorry that you had to experience that. And I'm so blown away by all of your own inner strength that has brought you to where you are today. And I know that you said you had to go through another experience to sort of find your own healing in a way. But as someone who has experienced a lot of patterns in life, and every time I keep going through a similar situation, I'm like, I thought I learned this lesson. Like, I thought that I've done the work.
Exactly.
I don't understand. Like, how many more lessons do I have to learn about this?
Seriously.
But they say that the lessons will keep coming back until we've learned something. And it's not that it's always exactly the same. There's always something new. And it's maybe not about us not having learned it, but it's maybe to add another layer of strength and another layer of awareness and healing so that we can help ourselves and help others.
I can't agree with you more. I think, and I'll tell you, the second incident for me, the biggest blessing that came out of it is self-love and self-awareness. And I like myself. At the end of the day, I love myself, actually. And I know we're taught we're not supposed to, love ourselves or whatnot, when I need to be my biggest advocate. And I now am, and my biggest supporter and my biggest champion, right? And I think to come out of a space of that I can walk away and look at myself in the mirror and say, I'm talented, I'm smart, I'm kind. All these things that I strive to be, no one can take that away from me. They can tell me whatever they want. And I'll tell you, I'm sure it's not done like critics, with music and with everything and life in general. People always have opinions, and people aren't going to probably always like what I do or what I say or how I am. But I'm okay with me. And I think that inner knowing and inner love, that's invaluable. And that's something that we have to learn. And if that's what I've learned from 10 years or even, mid 30s, I'm already ahead of the game because no one can take that away from me.
100%. I literally got goosebumps hearing you say everything you just said because I relate. I'm there too. It took me a long time to get to the place where I could truly say, I like myself. I like what I have to offer in this world. And an even longer time to say, you know what? I love myself and I love who I am. And I appreciate all the good things and I appreciate the things that I want to work on because I'm
Yes.
proud that I'm willing to grow. I'm proud that I'm willing
Yes.
to recognize the things that I want to
Yes.
improve on.
And don't you think that going through whatever trauma that we go through, it just makes you start having a lot more compassion for not only others, but for yourself and giving yourself a break and just looking at yourself with kinder eyes of, you're doing your best, you're trying your best. And in that, again, to have that acceptance of that we are 360. We have negatives, we have positives. That is part of being human, that we have, we all have issues. Like we have wonderful qualities, but we are going to have things that we have to work on.
Yeah.
But if you have that awareness and you're in that space, you're already ahead. You are already ahead of the game because then you can look at life, I think, through just a clearer, more compassionate, kind lens to others as well, right?
Absolutely. You're literally saying exactly what I feel. No, seriously, like
Love it.
I 100% feel that I'm a much kinder, more empathetic, more compassionate, more understanding, more forgiving, less judgmental human being.
Mm-hmm.
And I still work on it because I grew up with very black and white thinking, like it's either this or that, it's good or bad. And
Yes.
morality is a human construct in the first place. So it's not some one universal thing that exists anyway. But I feel that through my own experiences, I have definitely learned to have compassion for myself and therefore have more compassion for others. And I
Amazing.
will say that through my own experiences, I remember the day I chose to walk away was the day I chose myself.
Oh, yes.
And that is
Yes.
so powerful. It is
Yeah.
so incredibly powerful. I think it was the first time in my life that I was choosing myself. It was the
Mm-hmm.
first time in my life that I was actually saying, you know what? I've done everything that I can for this situation and for everyone else around me. And I just need to take care of myself now. I just need to choose myself now.
Oh,
Because actually, when we choose ourselves, it just simply means we're taking care of ourselves so that we can show up better for others. It's not like,
exactly.
oh, it's only about me and it's never about anyone else. No,
Mm-mm. No, if your cup is full, then you can fill other people's cup.
exactly.
You're giving me the chills. Like,
I feel
seriously.
like we're the same.
No, literally, like my chest is like beating, my eyes are watering. You're giving me the chills, all the feels, because I think especially, and not to make this men versus women or anything like this, but I think especially as women, we're not taught to choose ourselves.
Right.
We're taught, whether we're wives or mothers or daughters, to take care of other people and to be there for other people. And I'm sure that we've seen, or you've seen, especially in different cultures, right? Whether it's your mom or your grandma or aunts or whatever, giving up their dreams or giving up what's important to them to take care of everyone else.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're taught that, right? So then to go against that, which is something that's innate within us, to be nurturing and just take care of everyone.
The primal instinct built into our DNA.
Yeah, exactly. And when you go against that, first of all, how liberating, number one. But number two, you are now changing the course for generations of women who are then going to be able to step into their power, which then you're going to attract men and other women that are going to celebrate that. But as you step into your power, you're then inspiring everyone else around you to do the same and to show up for themselves and be accountable for yourself. If you decide that, okay, I want to go to the gym at 6:45 and then you don't go, that's fine. But you're not letting other people down. You're letting yourself down. So once you start choosing you, yeah, you're going to be able to show up for everyone else even better and even more, right? You are
Right.
going to have more energy and more magic to fill into everyone else's cup because you're just so secure in yourself, which is like the whole rising phoenix thing, which I just really tap into. And that's my spirit right there.
I love it so much. You inspire me and I relate so much with so many things you've talked about. And I kind of want to go back, if you're okay with us chatting a little more about it. I want to talk about gaslighting in
course.
general, because I think it's probably one of the most hurtful and detrimental forms of abuse, and very often one of the most unintentional.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Now, some people know they're doing it.
Well, exactly. But I also think some people don't realize it's so manipulative,
Yeah.
right? That sometimes maybe they don't even realize. So my therapist said something that kind of, made sense to me, and that she was saying with gaslight, with manipulation in general, babies are manipulative. Everyone has to have a form of a manipulation to get their needs met. I mean, it's not a good or a bad thing. It just is, right?
It just is. It's a fact.
Yeah. So like babies will cry to be comforted and to, be soothed or whatnot. Like that is their way to get the need met that they need the mom or the dad, right? But when you are malicious about it, which gaslighting is, and you're using it as a tactic to gain power or control over another individual, that's just unacceptable. The self-doubt. And I mean, I'll tell you, I was doubting everything about myself, but also my reality of life. Like
that's literally what gaslighting is.
Yeah. And it was to the point that I started writing things down to make sure that I had communicated, being like, okay, remember that you said this. This is insane, right?
Oh my God.
Because I would then be told, you never told me that. You didn't say that. What are you talking about? And I was like, and then you're doubting yourself, being like, am I going insane? Am I losing it? Do I need to go to a doctor? Like, do I have early Alzheimer's? What is going on here? Right. Mm-hmm. And the first few times you might not notice it. And you just kind of be like, oh, okay, I must have forgot. Or, okay, I thought I did. But you take the blame. You take the responsibility. But when it becomes chronic, and especially as you see the light more and more and the red flags start becoming more apparent to you, you see it everywhere and you're just like, you're just blatantly lying to me. You are trying to make me feel insane. And I think to even the point that they start making you feel crazy. That is wild, right? Like that's just a whole other concept where you're just doubting yourself to the point where you start thinking you're insane.
I mean, yeah. With gaslighting, it's literally someone denying your own reality.
But the thing is, it goes on so often, and it's just a really common thing. And I'm sure, you having experienced it as well, that you then can see, like if a girlfriend comes to you and they're telling you a story, they're like, yeah, and he didn't remember this, or she didn't remember that. And you're like, oh my God. And it's a repeat. It's a pattern.
Right.
You're like, no,
right.
This person is gaslighting you. This is not true. I think the scariest part is that, again, people don't realize this is a form of abuse. This is abuse, right? And I know I keep going back to, so many people think of abuse. Like even when I first started sharing that I was in a domestic abusive relationship, like, oh my God, you were hit? That's the first thing they say.
Right.
And I have to explain, were there a couple instances where there was physical abuse? Yes. But again, you justify it. But that wasn't the detrimental part, because bruises, they fade and they go away and they heal. When it's emotional and mental abuse, that's detrimental. That is the stuff that takes years of untangling. Yeah. I mean, I've been in therapy every week, every Thursday, for the past few years. And I always say to my therapist, okay, well, when is this going to be over? Like, when am I going to be healed? As if it's the end of a roadmap. And she laughs at me and she's like, that's like, there's no answer to that.
Right. Because healing isn't linear.
Not linear.
And it's a never ending process.
Like, come on. Come on. It's like when you finish a music piece, you're like, it's done. No, it's not. It's not done. And the thing with emotional and mental abuse and gaslighting and manipulation being in that tier is that it could come up in 10 years. You could be triggered in 15 years. Right? This could pop up in other relationships, and it could also hold you back, because even though it's not the new partner's responsibility and they didn't do anything wrong to you, you've now been conditioned for so many years that you're afraid to repeat that pattern. And right. You're afraid of your own reality of like, well, maybe I was like this. Like he said, I used to do this. Maybe that is me. So then your nervous system's freaking out and you're so hypersensitive and walking on eggshells because you don't want to mess up, which is how I was in my last relationship, where it was like, I just didn't want to piss him off. I just didn't want to fight. It was like a similar situation. I became a shell of myself. I lost confidence in my music, didn't put out my music, right? Because I was convinced that I wasn't talented again. And that, if this was the person who's supposed to love me the most in the world and be the most supportive, then surely he's not going to lead me astray. Like he wants me to be successful, right? So then you start doubting everything that is in your life. And when it comes to that relationship, you just are trying to hold on to it and trying to make it work. Meanwhile, it's like every night, you're just being triggered and losing more and more of yourself.
First of all, really, I'm so sorry that you've had to go through this, but I also really thank you for sharing this because, again, I know that you're not alone. I
Mm.
know that we are not alone in having experienced gaslighting. I know that, and you know what's crazy is that gaslighting can often happen from people that we care about or we think are our friends or our partners or our loved ones or our family. And I just want to briefly talk about this form of unintentional gaslighting because I think we all are capable of it. And I think we might have all done it at some point because sometimes it's very scary to take accountability for one's actions because that means we have to hold up a mirror and look at ourselves. And a lot of people are afraid to do that. It takes courage. So, we talked about compassion earlier. For a moment, let's have compassion for those that unintentionally gaslight, right? How that kind of happens and how that works. Let's say, I don't know, you're with a friend or something and you want to have a conversation with them. Hey, I felt upset about when you said XYZ.
Mhm.
And this
Mhm.
friend or this partner or this family member or whatever says, "Oh, but I didn't say that.
Yes.
Like you misunderstood me," because they're getting defensive, right? Because they're worried that maybe they hurt your feelings or maybe they feel embarrassed
Mhm.
that they could have said something like that because they didn't mean it in the moment or whatever it is, right? In your experience, in your healing process and your healing experience, how would you respond to something like that now, for
Ooh.
example? I'm curious to know how you would respond because it's hard to like stand your ground, especially when you're like, well, but this is my friend. Of course I know that they wouldn't hurt me, or
Oh
this
my
is my
gosh.
partner. Of course
Yes.
they love me, or this is my family member. Like, of course they don't mean to, like we justify and we actually end up gaslighting ourselves as well.
Oh my God, 100%. Wow, this is a really great question, by the way. Yeah, it's really hard because it's easy to go back into the script of self-doubt, right? And undermining your own like confidence and what you think actually happened and gaslighting yourself, as you said, right?
Right.
But what I've started to do, again, through help of therapy, is I can see patterns now a mile away in people. And if someone is manipulative or is gaslighting me, and it could be a friend that I adore and that I love, and they're one of my people, but I have had to learn boundaries. And I can't have that sort of behavior in my life anymore. I can't. It's detrimental to me. And it doesn't mean I don't love the person, it doesn't mean I don't care about them. However, I find that let's say someone said to me, I never said that. At first I might I have to be really sure, right? And I might be like, really? Are you sure? And I might try to jog their memory a little bit.
Right.
Be like, no, do you remember we were sitting outside and it was raining and whatever? No, I never said that. Then I'll be like, okay, fine. I've learned through the years, there's no convincing someone, right? That's not my job, is to convince you that you said something. Because sometimes they truly believe that they didn't say that. That's the other thing. It might not even be that they just are trying to manipulate. Like they
Right.
might truly have a warped reality and they might think they never said that. And, you're overreacting, you're being irrational, whatever it is. So I think at this point in my life, having boundaries and communicating, and I actually had to do that with a friend where communicated that I always felt I was on eggshells with her. And I always felt I was doing something wrong. And I couldn't authentically be myself. And sadly, it resulted in me having to take space. And that, again, at the end of the day, I love her. I adore her. I think she's great. But until she addresses certain behaviors and addresses certain of her issues and trauma, then I just can't be a part of that. And I don't know if that's the right answer.
I don't think there is one right answer, but I really appreciate your answer because everything you said is everything I feel and everything that I've also experienced and I'm learning. And I remember reading a quote from, I think, either a therapist or a psychology book or something. It was something about changing the narrative with boundaries because, by the way, I've also learned boundaries in the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And with boundaries, rather than making it about the other person, like, I won't tolerate being spoken to that way, instead of that, to be able to change the narrative to yourself and say, I don't stay in situations where I'm spoken to like this.
Oh my God, I love it. Yes.
It brings the focus back on us because in the other way, it's like we're still hoping and asking the other person to change. But
Yes.
we're only responsible for our own behavior. We have no control over anyone else, over anything else outside of us. Right.
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
kind of like it's even in the language, like we both know, having both gone through things and gone through a lot of therapy that like we know how important language is, what we say to
Mhm. And
ourselves,
how we communicate. Yep.
how we communicate. I mean, communication is literally the most important thing for any kind of relationship with oneself and with others.
Oh my gosh, I totally agree.
Like open, honest, verbal communication.
Hmm.
I say verbal because there's a lot of nonverbal communication that, no communication is also communication, right? So,
Oh, 100%. Well, didn't we say that earlier of another form of gaslighting would just be like the silent treatment?
which is so painful.
It's awful. But it's so unhealthy. And again, I don't think people realize because they're like, I'm just taking a break. I'm not engaging with this behavior, and they're shutting down. And I recognize that that could be their own trauma, and they just don't want to, have a conversation. Or the flip side is they don't know how to communicate. I think a lot of people, we are not taught how to communicate properly about our feelings, about what's going on inside.
Nope.
And that's why people are so reactive and they
Yep.
tend to cry or lash out or yell or break things, whatever it is, and be destructive. And it's because they actually can't verbalize what they're feeling. And they don't have the vocabulary oftentimes.
Right.
Yeah, you can say, I'm mad. No, but why are you mad? What is this triggering? What is this triggering within, whether it's your inner child or childhood trauma, or, even saying this triggers me because it reminds me of when I was with my ex and he used to gaslight me and undermine my realities. I'm now triggered and I feel like you're distorting my reality and trying to gain power and control over me. When that person might not be trying to do that, but if you don't have the words to verbalize that and to communicate that, right? The other person's just going to think you're being insane or you're being crazy. They're like, why are you crying? Why are you angry? Why are you reacting? So I think communication is I think everyone should be doing courses on communication, quite frankly, and reading all the books.
But I think you highlighted a very important point here, which is there are kind of two ways that people tend to react to a situation. It's either to lash out or cry or get angry or, people say very reactive, or they shut down. And those are both results and consequences of not being taught how to manage our emotions in a healthy way.
Yes.
And so I will continue to repeat for the rest of my life how grateful I am for therapy.
Oh, yeah. Amen.
Right? I mean, I remember reading something that said it was like a little chart thing. And the first line was event, reaction. And then the next line said event, reflection, response. And just like changing my mindset from immediately reacting to a situation to taking the time to reflect about the situation and ask myself, okay, first of all, is this about me? Like I used to get so upset if some random stranger was rude to me on the street or something, or like in the supermarket. It would ruin my day. I would take it personally. My whole day would be like, oh my God, this person was so mean to me. Okay, like first of all, you don't even know this person. Why are you taking it personally? Right?
Exactly. It's not about you.
It's not about me. And maybe also don't be so self-centered that you think it's about you, first of all. But secondly, learning to understand and like to appreciate that most of people's behavior is about themselves and is a reflection of themselves and it's not about us. Like this has been such a liberating thing to learn because it's really helped me to put some distance between someone's own reaction. So whether it's a stranger or whether it's someone that's close to
Family
me,
member, whoever.
family member, friend, partner, colleague, whatever. And now when maybe something triggers them and they get very upset, I can also take a moment to say, hey, is this about me? Did I do something that has upset this person? And if I did, unintentionally or intentionally, which hopefully I'm not doing things intentionally to hurt someone, right?
No.
So, but even if something unintentionally has happened from my part, I want to take that responsibility. And I also can recognize where my responsibility stops. And on the flip side, where the other person's responsibility towards me stops and where I need to be responsible for my own actions and my own feelings and my own reaction.
Oh my God. Yes. 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 Oh my God. Your therapist is doing a great job, girl.
She's amazing. She's the best.
Oh my God. I love it. Okay. All those points. Yeah. 100%. But at the same time as you ended, this also is you taking responsibility for your reactions and also how you're showing up, right? Because how other people show up and whether or not they choose to go to therapy or they choose to work on their mental health or they choose to deal with their traumas and their insecurities and things that are holding them back. We can't do the work for other people. That's not my responsibility, right? And that's not your responsibility. That is something that if someone decides they want to do that and go to that next level, great. I'm there to support you all along the way. And it's hard. Let's be honest. Doing the work is hard. Showing up is hard. And it's even sometimes you don't see the progress. And actually last week, my therapist and I were discussing about different things in my life. And she said to me, she's like, do you realize how far you've come? And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, do you ever take a look at where you are in your life and think back to, and I'll tell you, I started talking to her regularly, like every week, December 2019. I've talked to her almost every week since December 2019 or November 2019. That's insane. And so you think not only have I grown, obviously like in age and maturity, but in awareness and just healed. And she pointed out some of my progress that I wasn't even aware of. And she's like, I think sometimes we're doing the work and we're so in the trenches that we forget to take a look at how far we've come, and that I am not the same person I was 3 years ago. And I don't react the same. And I think that actually I've kind of let go in a way where I'm allowing things to happen for me and to me. And then I can choose how I react and if I want to engage. And I even, as we were saying with people, of like if someone reacts to you in a negative way or, is rude or whatnot, I kind of laugh about it now. And I'm just like, oh God, wow, you can't control your emotions, or you're having that bad of a day. Or there must be something actually, I have compassion. There must be something really bad going on for you to be reacting this way and to not have tolerance or, love. And I think it makes you then, when you are doing the work, you just show up with so much love to everyone else, and you react with so much more patience and love, because you're like, I've done the work. I see you. And we're all going to have to continue doing the work. It's okay. We're going to get through it.
You are literally in my brain. Every single thing you've just said.
Do you see how I'm like talking to my inner child right there, being like soothing my inner child, being like, it's okay. We're going to get through this. We got each other. Come on. We're cool.
But this is it. You said everything I wanted to say to you, because it's exactly that. Like, when we learn what is our responsibility, we actually learn to have more compassion for others. And like you said, we can't change anyone else. We can only work on ourselves. And that's our choice. And it doesn't make us better or worse than anyone else. And someone not doing the work doesn't make them better or worse than anyone else. Everyone has their own journey and their own path. And this is how I want to show up. And I want to do my best for myself, because this is my life and I'm here, and who else is going to do it for me if not me?
Totally. But I think one of the biggest gifts that I've received, and I think you're probably the same, is peace. I know this sounds really simple.
So much peace.
But right? But it's just peace within, a knowing that I don't need to tell people to go to therapy or to work on their journeys or deal with their traumas.
It's not our place, honestly.
No, exactly. But I know for me, it's changed everything. I think I have more inner peace. I think I'm happier. I think I am more grateful. And I see the blessings around me, even simple things of a sunny day, right? I would rather be in that state and on that vibration than being reactive or, just have a bunch of issues and, again, abuse or be manipulative towards someone. I'd rather be on the other side of it, right?
Absolutely. I cannot tell you how many times I have said, especially in the last several months, in the last year, I feel at peace. I feel peaceful and content in my life. I feel calm for the first time in my life. And that's not a consistent feeling every single day, every minute of every day, but
definitely not.
On the whole, I feel at peace. Today I got caught in a torrential downpour. And I was laughing. I was listening to like
we're the same person.
I think we need to meet in person a lot more, because I literally, you're in my head. But I had like a great soundtrack on my Spotify going, and I was just laughing. Like, I was seeing all these poor people, trying to like hold the umbrella really close because the wind was like whipping through, and I was just laughing. I was like, what can we do? There's a torrential downpour right now, and my pants are completely soaked. My socks are completely soaked. But I was laughing, really, and I was so proud of myself for my attitude.
Exactly.
Because 2 years ago, I would have been like, why didn't I just stay at home? This is horrible.
Yeah, of course. It's that negative, like, and spiraling. But I'll tell you, and this is like going off the subject a little bit, and I'm quite spiritual. And I would just say, I believe in God, the universe, whatever. I think that, I think there's just more to life. And I think life is magical, right?
Agree.
And maybe music has helped me go down that path where I see how music, it's not a tangible thing. And yet it changes lives and it inspires and heals and empowers people just through song, which is just so beautiful. But I now, if something like that happens, where it's something as simple as I'm running for the bus and the bus just leaves as I'm almost at the door, and it's like, come on, right? But I now laugh like you. My whole mindset has changed where I laugh and I'm like, all right, universe, I'm assuming you were protecting me from, I don't know, the bus was going to break down, or you wanted me to meet the love of my life while I was waiting at the bus stop. Like, what is it? Like, I just totally changed the narrative to be something positive that I don't stress out about it anymore. It's like, listen, I have done enough stressing, enough crying, enough breaking myself down that now it's just, I just want to float. I just want to be bopping around, living my best life and showering everyone around me with positive energy. That doesn't mean that I don't acknowledge, by the way, because I think sometimes you can go into this where people are just, you're living in this fantasy world. That's not what I'm talking about.
Right. And you're not talking about like toxic positivity at all. I know you're not.
Exactly. No, definitely not. No, definitely not. Because I obviously am able to have hard conversations, and mental health is obviously just so important, especially for, I think, artists and musicians, because we're already so hard on ourselves that it's not just keeping this, toxic positivity in our mind, but doing the work so that we do just start to notice the little blessings around us and just taking note and realizing how lucky we are.
I love your mindset so much. You are an inspiration with your healing and your strength and everything that you are, Tess. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I literally, I could talk to you for hours, and I think we're going to have a phone call like next week.
Part 2. Amazing. Oh my gosh. No, thank you so much for also having a platform that's just a safe space for people to come and discuss their struggles and bringing awareness in allowing other people to hear our stories and hopefully heal and help change the world and letting people know that they're not alone.
Thank you all so much for listening. I am truly grateful for the support from each and every one of you. If you would like to submit any questions or topics for us to address on the show, you can send us a message on our Instagram page @ConsciousArtistPodcast. Help us to spread more awareness by sharing this episode with your friends, your colleagues, your teachers, and your students. And don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Sending you all so much love and strength to tackle this week, and we'll see you next Monday for another episode of The Conscious Artist.